And now, Giant Sports Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Eric and Glenn.
We're talking Giants every day. From McCovey Cove to the Oracle Park lights, Eric and Glenn keep the fire burning bright, fighting for the glory, no matter what it costs us, breaking down the moments from the wins to the losses. Giant Sports Talk, we're here for the ride. Eric and Glenn with the fan base pride, talking dreams, will they contend? But we'll back the Giants till the very end. Let's go, Giants! Yes, yes, yes! Oh! Eric and Glenn breaking it down, all Giants all the time.
All right, welcome to Giant Sports Talk Live. More playoff action. Second game done. Brewers take a commanding 2-zip lead over the Cubs. They beat the Cubs 7-3. A bunch of freaking offense today. Home runs all over the place. That's pretty much how I think every run was scored, was off of a home run. Off of a 3-run home run. 3 of them. 1 by the Cubs, 2 by the Brewers. And then the Brewers shut it down with their pitching. So, yeah, here we go, man. It may be a foregone conclusion. The NLDS is right. It just seems like the writing is on the wall, as they say. And, you know, here's the thing. Let's talk a little bit about this. We'll talk about the game. What I'm about to say, we could talk a little later. Doesn't it show how hard it was for the San Francisco Giants back in 2012? Remember this, Lou and Glenn. They were down 0-2 in the DS. Had to go to hostile territory in Cincinnati, a small ballpark where it's easy to score runs, and they were able to get it done and wind up winning another World Series. Again, it's amazing. Look, can some of these other teams do the same? Yeah, all right. It's baseball. Anything can happen. But, Glenn, what'd you think of the game?
Oh, geez. You didn't leave me much to say. 3 3-run shots, and then the bullpen came in. 15 in a row, shut it down. Game over.
Game over.
Lou,
Yeah.
can you add anything?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
First of all, Eric, we got to remember when the Giants went to Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a manager, in my mind, who's very overrated. Cost the Giants a ring, and he cost the Reds a ring. And I'm talking about Dusty Baker. I think a great guy, but there's difference. Everyone claims how great he was. I could have won a championship with Houston. That's all I wanted to say with the Astros. But getting back to it, I completely agree it's tough. But we got to remember one thing. The Dodgers won on the road. A playoff series, they usually say doesn't start until a road team wins. But these are not games of 7, best of 7. These are games of 5. And when you go up 2-0, they've won 89.8% of the time. So when you're up 2-0, usually it's done. It's only happened 10 times in baseball. Of course, when we talk about the Giants and Reds, the Giants lost the first 2 at home. Then they won the next 3 at Cincinnati. So an incredible thing. That's what made that World Series so special. But I think this is just different. You know, the thing about Milwaukee, and I'll bring up a phrase that I've used many times, is the Cubs were up 3-0. Milwaukee came right back to tie it. So it was a brand new game. I always refer to as a shutdown inning, which is really, you know, probably half of baseball where, you know, the Giants were scored 3 and then they give up 5. Doesn't really matter. But I thought it was very key. The other thing tonight about Milwaukee is that I heard a stat pretty amazing. They have 11 out of their 24 guys on offense are above average on base percentage. The Giants, I think, had 2 out of all 26. Yeah. Right. The other thing is all runs scored tonight were with 2 outs. So when you score 7 runs with 2 outs, you're going to win probably 90% of the time. obviously coming down 3, we were doing the post-game show earlier, and it was 3-0, and all of a sudden, kaboom, it went the other way. So it just tells you how important that is. But I think the big thing about Milwaukee is all different players do it. It's not like, the same guy coming up at the same time. And that lineup is very deep. 7 times. The other thing, too, is people forget Milwaukee got rid of their best player last year. He became a Giant, Adames. They have a better record this year without him. I just wanted to bring that up. They also traded this year their stud reliever, the best reliever, to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Their number 2 guy got injured. And
they
now
traded away Corbin Burns, right? A couple of years ago.
I mean, it just shows you sometimes it's
last year,
the environment, the coaches, and depth. And one of the things I know Glenn always brings up is depth of a team, a roster, an organization. Milwaukee Brewers, that's it. They lost their manager a couple of years ago. They lost their star player. They lost their ace. They traded their bullpen, and here they are. They're 5 wins away of being in the World Series. So, I think, and you know what? Another great thing, it's not always about the money you spend. It's who you spend it on, how wisely it was. I mean, really, they got a guy from one of the rivalry teams, a catcher who was a free agent, and that started the whole process a little bit in Contreras. And so I just, I think, hey, being a small market team, anybody has a shot, but they're just doing it right. And, it's pretty exciting, and they were number 1 seed for a reason. If you look throughout the year, they at one time, the Cubs led the division. People forget about that. And then Milwaukee just went on an incredible streak. Unlike Detroit, where they came back to reality, it's one of those things. But, you got to give it to them. Great manager, got some stud players. And, it was good to see Milwaukee ballpark packed and loud, and, it'll be good. But, hey, don't count the Cubs out yet. When you go to Chicago, the friendly confines, if the Cubs can win game 3, it easily could come back for game 5. But I'd rather be in Milwaukee's situation because their pitching has just sort of been dominant.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to make a statement, and I'm going to ask Glenn. I'm going to ask you a question. I asked you about it in the green room too, and you said something interesting. First off, how about that Jackson Chourio? Got a bad wheel, and he cranks. That was a monster home run to center field. Wow, there you go, man. Hey, this is in the regular season. He's probably going to be on the IL for 2 weeks. But this is the playoffs. He probably got a shot in that leg, whatever. He's on one bad leg. They got him in a corner outfielder spot, and he went out there and had a huge at-bat. That was awesome by Jackson Chourio. Young kid, by the way. Glenn, what is going on with Greg Counsell, man? You had your starter, your quote-unquote ace in Imaniga to go out there and take care of business, and he yanks him early. Why? Why would you do so? He's a star. He's been a starter all year. Mizorowski, I get, because he's young. This is his first rodeo. He had a little bit of an injury. I get kind of cutting him back, but let Imaniga go. Why? What do you think was up with Counsell?
Boy, he seems to have the knack for doing that. We were talking about it last series, Eric. Remember when he had his pitcher out of the game early, and I thought he was, maybe a case of little, postseason jitters. The managers this postseason haven't actually been going, second inning pulling guys, which is kind of surprising. That seems to be the trend in Major League Baseball, Eric, but we saw it last series. He does it again tonight. I thought it was a little bit of a panic. They didn't get that shutdown inning. All of a sudden it was 3-3. I would have left him in, Eric. I mean, you're talking about one of your top pitchers only going early into a ball game. I mean, at that point it was tied. You had a tied ball game, I think, when he took him out. Wasn't it still tied, Eric? 3-3?
3-3 when they yanked him.
So I mean, what was the need for panic at that situation? You can kind of monitor him, keep an eye on things, maybe have somebody just ready to get up in the bullpen. Again, I thought that was a little early to be panicking in this ball game, Eric.
And think about this. If you want to advance, you got to win 3 in a row. You're probably going to have to rely on that bullpen. So you're abusing your bullpen for no reason when you have a starter that could go another 4 innings. You know what I'm saying? Lessen the workload in that bullpen, because I'm guessing the way Council's been doing, he's been doing it since the wild card. He likes to go to that bullpen early and often. So, hey, whatever. I mean, you want to do that. I said this in the other one, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And I think Council, we were talking about Dave Roberts over-managing a little bit without going to Roki. I mean, they won, but they could have gone to Roki. It's the same thing here with Greg Council. I don't understand that process. Again, it's basically a 0-0 game at that point. You're not out of it. You're early in the game. Let's see what you can
bring
do.
Up a good point, buddy. You know what? You got they're down 2-0. You're going to have to rely on the bullpen, Eric.
Yes.
Obviously, he has a little more faith in the bullpen than I do of those Chicago Cubs. But, he's the manager for a reason, Eric. He's going to live and die by the decisions that he makes.
And Chicago paid a lot of money to make him the manager, man. That's the reason why he left Milwaukee to go to Chicago, because they gave him the most money.
I
think
Eric,
go ahead, Lou.
No, I was just going to say that's what makes this series so unique.
Yeah.
In case some of the chat doesn't know, Council was the manager for I think 6 or 7 years, and then he left them, and it wasn't even about the money. So, in case you don't know, it's not too often where you leave a team just strictly because you thought it was a better organization, more money, and now you're going to get sort of, you want your cake, but you're going to have to eat it too, and it's one of those things where, especially how close Milwaukee and Chicago are. I mean, you'll see a lot of people, a lot of Cub fans went to Milwaukee. Now, a lot of people are going to go back to Milwaukee to Chicago to see if they can, do it. So it's pretty amazing. So,
and how about
we're talking about managers, Eric? I don't want to jump off.
This is where I want to go, Glenn.
In case I forget, I just want to get Lou. What's your point of view on the Padres going out, and then everybody seems to be calling for Mike Schultz's head? And I keep saying to Eric, even though, if a team doesn't win, I mean, there's going to be pressure from the fan base, and I'm sure management feels it, but you can't be changing manager in a league this big and this broad. Only one team can win. Is it insane to put that kind of a pressure on the manager where, oh my God, Schultz is in trouble? I said to Eric, he'll be at a job for 8 seconds. You don't have to worry about finding him a job.
I think the key thing is fans are fans, but you got to remember the first round, you got to play 3 games on the road. It's hard to win. You're actually being rewarded for a better season. So if you have anyone to blame, you got to blame the regular season. It's sort of funny. On the Hot Corner, we used to kept talking about, Giants mistakes, all this. If they would have had 4 of their losses would have been wins, they might have been in the playoffs. It would have been that close. That's why regular season mistakes, running errors, blowing leads, bullpen not having a closer, it all adds up. And what it does is, you make the playoffs. That's why I was sort of sick and tired of everyone saying, oh, if we just make the playoffs, we're going to be good with Webb. Okay, well, who are the other 2 starters? And it would have been on the road. It's not like we're back at Oracle. It's very tough. That's why, when the Dodgers got eliminated, they basically had to win on the road. Home field doesn't really matter. I mean, the first round, maybe, but the second round, not really. It's all about pitching, playing solid defense, and doing the little things that add up. It's the first to 3. 100%. It's not, you got to win 3 in a row. And I think it's one of those things where, hey, if the Padres got rid of him, I'd want Buster to get Schultz right away. I wouldn't even think twice. Forget about who you're thinking of, because I think he's a very good manager. I just think you got to remember the way they lost, they didn't get any help from the umpire. But that was the 9th inning. It should have never led to that. Second of all, it wasn't their fault. They went against a better pitcher of that series. So you got to get some, sometimes you got to give credit to the other people. You got to say, hey, we got beat by a better team on that. It's just one of those things. It's baseball.
Yep.
When you think you know it, you're wrong.
There you go. Hey, and here's the thing. RJ just brought up that great point. Cubs, they replaced David Ross, who I thought was a good manager, with Craig Counsell. I mean, that was like, why would you do that? And here's the thing. Maybe David Ross could be a guy that Buster Posey could look at. I would be okay with him. The guy has managed before. He seems to to have the respect of play. Everywhere he's been respected. He's got World Series rings, 2 of them, right? When he was with Boston and also when he was with the Cubs. So he knows how to win. I think David Ross would be a good pick for the next manager for the San Francisco Giants, right? Come on.
Yeah, I'm with Lou. I'm with Lou, though. I mean, Schilt is so engaged. You can just tell he's a manager. So if he was on the market, I'd throw the papers up in the air and go, and look, call him, get him on the phone.
Him and Pat Murphy kind of remind me of the same. They seem hard-nosed. They're out there ready to they have that commanding presence. We'll just say that. But they also make some good moves, and you only could do so much with what you have, right? And it would be unfair to get rid of Schilt if
I just think the thing is I can't remember who was even in the playoffs last year except the World Series, right? But they probably say this every playoff. You need to get rid of them. They might have got great counsel because they thought they could only go so far with Ross. We don't know. But every year, there's going to be, 12 teams that make the playoffs. 11 are going to be disappointed. I mean, what are you going to do? Say Toronto wins tomorrow, 6-0. Yankees are going to fire Boone. Don't you think Boone would be nice as a Giant?
Let's talk about that.
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because the Yankees are going to say, screw him. Same thing with the Mets. Everyone wants to get rid of their players. You got to think, as Eric says, the long term.
Thompson may be in the same. Let's talk to be. Oh my gosh, I'm locking up here. You're going to have to. The Giants, if they don't work quick, they may lose somebody because you talked about Aaron Boone. If they get beat tomorrow, good possibility he's gone. If the Phillies get swept, good chance Thompson may be gone. I mean, that's just the way it is to a certain extent, depending on what clubs want to do. And if that's the case, because where would a manager want to go? Do they want the bright lights of New York and Philadelphia, or not so much with San Francisco? And again, because those positions aren't, on the money, absolutely. And because those positions aren't currently vacant, they're going to have to settle for, so to speak. But if they become available, now the Giants got some competition on who they want to get as a manager. So that's something to keep an eye on.
And would you want to bring Boone in? Would you want to actually bring Boone in?
No,
I don't know, but I think he'll be fired. I
would want to bring him in because he's got a not just a track record of being unsuccessful in the playoffs continually. Then that's like that halo that just hangs over you. So when he comes in, what's the first thing that fan base would sound like? Oh, geez, we brought in Boone. He's not a winner. So what do you do?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Glenn. The one thing about Eric is I want someone that has managed before. I don't want someone that is he was an assistant or he's a friend of somebody or he's from the Bay Area. Yeah. I want someone that has been through it because, we saw Buster, how much he struggled this first year. Mm-hmm. We can't have a manager really struggle because then we just have another year that's behind us where we're not competing.
That's a great point, Lou. That's a great point because
I'm done for the night. Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Because what did Buster Posey say at the end of the season? He wants to win. You could see it. It was eating at him. He's like, we should be in the playoffs, right? And he has that desire. So why would you go and get a guy that is basically cutting his teeth as being a manager, but the demand is we want to go to the playoffs? Because that's the standard that Buster Posey has set. You're going to have to bring in somebody that, like as you said, I want someone that has somewhat done it before, whether it's coaching at a minimum to be a manager.
I think they're still going to go manager, Eric, because you and I have talked about it. There's been too many rumblings in our chat anyway. Guys are throwing out college coaches, and I want a guy who's got some kind of establishment.
Yes.
You bring in a college coach, and then he's got to deal with major league players there. I want a guy who the players, he commends their attention when he walks into the locker room.
Yeah. And hey, Clint, I'm going to tell you something. I think I said this last night. And it's not commanding the respect by nature of your position. You should be commanding respect because of who you are as a person. right? Being a manager, you already commanded with the respect. But if you want buy-in from the players, you're going to have to go out there and establish yourself as, hey, you can either trust me, you've done it before, whatever it may be. You got to command those, because look, you're dealing with you want to say prima donnas? You deal with prima donnas. Yeah, exactly.
Right. A manager where the players want to go to the wall for a guy.
Yes. There's something to that. You got to be able to manage the game, but you also got to command that the spirit, if you will. And if you don't have a guy that can be able to do that, both, you're not going to get very far. So it's gonna be fun as a Giants fan to watch just how all this is going to pan out, because you're also going to have to go get additional players.
Yeah, and Bochy didn't have it overnight. Remember, he was with the Padres. He went to World Series. But after probably year 3, he had the respect. Roger Craig, Humbaby, he was so different. He had everyone's respect. And I think you bring up a good point. Really, we've just gotten guys fillers, sort of like our players, 4A fillers. You know, Melvin was a safe manager. He managed the A's, you know, but no one ever talks why the Padres gave him up so easily. You know, they couldn't wait to get rid of him. We got to get somebody that's going to bring the SF black, the cap with the SF orange on it, back to respect. We got to have respectability. You know, right now with the Giants, nobody talks about our players. They all talk about the ballpark. I want them to start talking about the San Francisco Giants players.
The team. Yes.
You know, the team. The ballpark's a destination. We got to have players that want to make it a destination.
And you got to have players, just like Jason says. There's still some work for Buster Posey to do after a manager is hired.
Yes,
there's still work to do, or it doesn't matter who he brings in.
That's a fact. And I got a feeling that as San Francisco Giants fans, we are going to be entertained one way or another, because you're going to have to hire a manager. You're going to have to hire and then he's going to bring in his coaches, and then you got to go get the players, and then it starts all over again. So it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot to talk about as far as Giants content. But man, I tell you, it's going to be interesting. You know, we're talking managers because of what's going on here in the postseason, but it does have an effect on what the Giants are going to do here, because you can kind of see what these managers are doing. Some of them had made some great moves, some of them not so much. You know, Boone has caught a lot of grief. Counsell, right? I mean, I don't know what he was on. I don't know if he's going to catch any grief or anything. Who else has caught?
Well, here, I'll tell you something with Philly. Say Philly gets swept. I don't even know next year if they're even going to be a favorite, because Atlanta is going to be healthy. They're going to be the best in the division. Remember, Philly is like up against the wall with their talent, their age. They got a couple guys who are going to be leaving. That's not going to be a destination. They might have to get rid of, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And that's where one of the things, Eric, you brought up a great point. Maybe we have a manager in mind, but he can go to Philly, less pressure.
Yeah.
He tells them, hey, we're restarting again. And they might give somebody an opportunity who probably shouldn't be manager, but they need someone just to fill the spot. And I think, you know, we keep missing the point during the playoffs. You know, I'll bring it back again. 11 teams aren't going to make it. Out of the 11, probably 5. This is it. You know, it's like, wait a minute. You know, with Chicago, they're going to lose Tucker, free agency. He's made horrible decisions. Do I want him for the next 3 or 4 years, or do I need someone fresh?
Right.
You know? And the worst thing is say Milwaukee, who's literally like their little stepchild, say they win it. That's all you're going to hear about. Title town, Packers better than the Cubs, right? You have the it's just one of those things, you know, and that's one of the things where, you know, especially with Philly, I could see him next year, if they get swept, having a whole new team. The only guy that'll stay there will be Harper. You know,
Armand, Schwarber, Real Muto, Ranger. Don't forget Castellanos will also be gone.
Yeah.
So that's, look at that. If you're talking just position player, that's 3 position players that are probably going to be gone. And you got one of your key starting rotation arms, probably, unless they pay him, is going to be gone. So,
you know, Eric, other than the Los Angeles Dodgers, do you see a little bit of a trend in Major League Baseball? And you and I have kind of bantered about during the regular season, but once you hit the postseason, Bryce Harper, He always seems to be non-existent. Judge doesn't seem to play with the same attitude he does during the year. All these high-paid players.
Shohei Ohtani, right?
I mean, these guys aren't performing.
That's a great point, man. And that's the thing. It's weird. You got these guys, right? These quote unquote superstars getting paid big bucks, had big regular season years, and then all of a sudden you get into the playoffs, and then you kind of disappear.
And it's habitual too. I was watching that game. I don't know if it crossed your mind at all, but when I watch Harper, Harper tonight. I'm like, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, Kyle Tucker with the Cubs. What has he done for the? They traded, a bunch of prospects to get him. What is he doing? You talked about Harper. You talked about
Judge,
Shohei Ohtani with the bat. Who else? Vlad Guerrero. They paid him, and he's performing. So,
well, that's why Toronto's up 2-0. And I'll bring another example. Is who knows if we're going to see him? Probably not until they make the dance. Kershaw. One of the greatest regular season players. Kershaw. Everyone talks about him in the playoffs. He's like 2-7 with an ERA of like 8. Hey,
but it could be another big. If he gets into a game there out of the bullpen, Lou. I mean, he was 11-1 in the regular season. It's just like Sasaki coming in as a closer. The Dodgers always have weapons.
I agree. I'm just bringing up a terminology where a lot of these
Kershaw has always. He would have a Cy Young regular season, and he gets in a postseason, and he absolutely
that's
shits
all they talk about. So it's a different game. It's a different game. That's why
he could be a big setup guy though this year.
I agree.
He could be your setup,
and he's never done it really. But that's what I was going to say is these people. Every year there's someone that you haven't spoken of saying, "Oh my God, he got hot at the right time." You got to remember Cody Ross wasn't even a Giant. Midway through the season, and we got him purely the last day. What was it of like
the waiver wire when we had when they had the waiver wire.
The waiver wire. So there's always someone that makes, and that's why baseball is so unique. But at the same time, I love this conference where you go best of 3 games on the road, best of 5, and I'd say 75% of the time you're going to get the 4 best teams in the championship series. And then anything can happen. It's just one
and
of
if
those
it's the Dodgers and the Brewers, Lou, that is your best. Those are the 2.
Yeah.
That would be something. Can you imagine that?
They really are.
And the Dodgers, again, are going to prove the point. They got to win on the road everything. Everything they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go. Milwaukee will have the home field. If they play Toronto's got the better record.
The home field.
It'll go 2-3, 2-1. You know what I mean? So,
and the same in the American League. Same in the AL. Toronto and Seattle. Those are your best teams. Toronto, in my opinion, is already in. It would be a monumental, even though they're tied at 1, it'll be a monumental upset if Detroit was to go to the ALCS. It's going to be, it should be Seattle, Toronto, Milwaukee, Dodgers. There's your final 4, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, when you really look at it, Toronto, they're a big market team, but most people don't think they're big. Just they're in the American League East. Everyone thinks so. I'd say more of a media market. Seattle, small market. Milwaukee, really small market. And then it's the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, have the money. We all know that. But that's why, we all talk about the free agents, who we got, how much money. If you would have asked you today, Eric and Glenn, hey, can you name me 3 guys on Milwaukee Brewers? You'd have a tough time maybe getting all 3. They're not big, guys that people know. The pitching staff, I never even saw that guy today. The reliever ace. And the guy I think is like his last 10 appearances, Uribe, 0.87. I mean,
and what's with these skinny guys who throw this heat? What is that?
I mean? So it's one of those things where it's really, and again, just how the regular season playoffs different, Armand brings up a good point. Caillou's had an incredible year. He's 0 for 23 when it counts. And I think that's why when I think about Giants and playoffs, I don't really think of the 10, 12, and 14. I always go back when Will Clark and Mark Grace in the National League Championship Series, I think were combined like 25 for 31. One batted like 6 something. The other one batted 580. I mean, it was incredible. And again, that's where baseball's changed. I know we have great pitchers. I mean, Cubs had that wild thing. I forgot his name now. The lefty.
Oh yeah, Williams.
Williams, Williams, not Matt Williams, but Williams. He threw like 99, 100 miles an hour.
Ass delivery, yeah.
Yeah, right. But again, you had guys that were actually hitters, like a Tony Gwynn. I'm always thinking of some of these great hitters. Great hitters know how to hit. We don't really have great hitters these days. We have more slappers, guys, that try with the uppercut, try to hit the home run. I mean, we always say, would you rather have a guy that hits 50 homers and bats 250, or would you rather have a guy that bats 20 homers but bats 310? To me, it's, does he have clutch? When does he get the hits? What inning? The one thing about Chapman is, Chapman might have homers, but after the 6th inning, he never had success. To me, that's where you pay the guys the big bucks, when the game is on the line. We talk about pitching tonight. Milwaukee, you knew they weren't going to blow that lead. Their pitchers were that good tonight. And that sort of reminds me of the Giants 12-14. They had shut down inning guys where, you knew it. All you had to do is get to Brian Wilson or Sergio. It was done. And you had guys that would come in that maybe would face the minimum 4 batters, and that's something that, I'll just refer back to the Giants that they're really missing. We talked early in the season, oh God, some of our buddies, Rob, would say, oh, we have the greatest pitching staff. No, we don't have the greatest pitching staff. No, this pitching staff's number one. Take a look at the stats. Yeah, we were 35 games in. The season's 162. We need guys that can show up the whole season. And then you need 1 or 2 guys that can be studs, that can carry the team in the playoffs. On the earlier thing, you brought up a great point, Eric. Ohtani hasn't done anything. Yeah, you got a hit today. You got an RBI. And it was key that he did. But he has guys surrounding him. And, that's what makes these guys like your 3rd, 4th best player is if you can have 1 or 2 guys be studs, and then you have a couple other guys that come out of the woodwork, that's a success for winning. Then you don't have to worry about anything. I mean, look at tonight. Cubs went up 3-0, and Milwaukee didn't panic. The crowd didn't panic. 6 batters later, it's tied, and the place is in an uproar. It's just amazing. Yep. But that's what makes baseball so unique.
And Eric, I don't know about you and Lou. I consider myself just as big a ball fan as I was from when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I watch more actually now. But is it just me, or back in the late 70s, the 80s, when I was, really getting to an age where I knew ball, I could name, I never got to watch the Dodgers growing up the East Coast of Canada, but I could name Ron Say and Steve Garvey and Mike Scioscia. I like Lou touched on, I don't know. Eric and I were looking at matchups 3-4 days ago. I'm like, who is this guy, Eric? I don't want to look stupid, but I don't know these guys. Don't you agree?
Yeah, when we're what series were you watching? I think it was it Cincinnati? I think it was Cincinnati. I'm like, who the hell are these guys, man?
Even
what is this? No, the Guardians.
I think it was the starting pitchers for Game 3. I didn't know either.
It was the Guardians. Kafis. I'm like, who the hell is Kafis? I don't even ever heard of this kid. And what is it? DeLauder? I was like, who the hell's DeLauder? They're celebrating that he got his first hit in the playoff game. I'm like, what is going on here, dude?
Yeah.
It was weird.
I think the key thing, what baseball has done, which is good, they're not saying, oh, we're playing NFL, we don't want to play. They're still playing against them. They have good teams that are doing it. But I think the key thing is they have these day games. Like, you remember last week, we had 2 days straight of 4 games in a row. And, I compared it to like March Madness. I was excited. We have 4 baseball games. Even though I'm working, I had one screen strictly on the game, and on the West Coast, the game started like at 10, noon, 3, and 6. It was perfect. And I think baseball, what they're doing is they're trying to get back. Hey, nobody's going to be as big as the NFL, but they're saying, hey, we have a great product. It doesn't matter when we show it. It doesn't matter who's playing. Let's just do it. And I think they're doing it the right way. Like tonight, The first game was at 3 and then 6 tomorrow. They're going to go 2-2 every day. So we get a game, and I think baseball, even though maybe the ratings aren't there, everyone's talking about it. I mean, here we are, we're doing a show. People are talking about it, and the Giants aren't in it. The A's aren't in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of amazing. The local team's not in it, but everyone's fired up to talk about the ball games.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
these are the people who enjoy the game of baseball. We got some Mets fans in here who didn't even make the playoffs, and we're in here talking baseball. So hey, man, that's the beauty of baseball. We love the game, even though our teams aren't in it. We still enjoy good baseball. It's playoff baseball. It's the best. Nimby, I'm going to come back to this. I don't want to ask both of you guys this because we kind of touched on the manager, and I see it in the chat. Can I ask? I really want to know. A lot of people are clamoring for Nick Hundley as the next manager for the San. Can I ask a question? Why? What is it that Nick Hundley? What is it that you have seen? If you guys know, or I'm asking the chat as well, what have you seen from Nick Hundley other than his playing? Have you ever seen him manage? Have you ever seen him coach? Because I want to know. I see all this people. The only thing I ever hear is Buster Posey likes him. Okay, that's great. I'm glad that Buster Posey likes him. But as a fan, if you're sitting there going, I want Nick Hundley, I want to know why.
I think that's our fan base, the guys who really follow the team on a daily basis. We're not talking about the people who go and have their 3 beer and take, as we used to call it, the selfies. The fan base, the true fan base, I think they're still locked in on this. Well, yeah, he was a former Giant, so, catcher. He's a catcher, and, Posey's buddy. Stop with the Posey's buddy crap. I don't care who you hire, the best man for the job.
If
you talk about Nick Hundley, I think DEI hire. Get me the best guy. Stop with he was a Giant. You agree?
It's one of these. It's similar to Bob Melvin. Lou, what say you? I mean, is there anything that you've ever seen of Nick Hundley?
All right. First of all, Nick Hundley went to U of A. He was very nice when he played with the Giants. He only played for the Giants, I think, only a year.
Couple of years, yeah.
I think because he got injured. So he only played with the Giants 1 year. He was with 5 or 6 teams. To me, I don't understand it. He's never been a manager. He wasn't a manager where he's coming from. He was like one of those. He was in the organization. Okay. I think why would you say Nick Hundley? I think he's just like Skip. Skip's already taken guys. So you keep thinking that we're going to get S squared. He became a manager last week. I think he's just, I don't want to say a safe pick, but he's sort of the talk of the water jug just for today. I think he's, nobody talks about who Buster actually already interviewed someone, but nobody talks about him. Does anybody know who he Buster, who he managed on Sunday? He had a sit-down meeting with Eric. You know who it was because you saw the video.
Kurt Suzuki?
Yeah. I think Kurt, what's wrong with Kurt? Kurt had a better career. He had more success. He's also a catcher. I think the Giants got to stop thinking, we had a manager before and we had Buster who was a manager. Forget this. The manager as a good manager, catcher as a good manager, I think it was 10 years ago. We got to start thinking outside the box because it hasn't worked for us. Okay? You got to get someone that's done. I think Nick Hundley, hey, if he's in, that's fine. But Fozzie, strong leadership. He was with 6 teams. How can you have a strong leadership? Because
here's the thing.
He was under Buster.
Fossey put 3 points out here. Okay. He's got strong leadership and clubhouse reputation. Okay. He's got a clubhouse reputation. We don't know about his
reputation, and half the clubhouse is in baseball, though.
Look, you're right. Thank you. And strong leadership, we don't know about his leadership. We don't know. Maybe Buster Posey does. Okay. I'm talking about as a fan. There's no way we know about his leadership. We just don't. Existing relationship with the Giants leadership. Well, we know what that reeks of to me, and it doesn't mean that's what it is. but it sounds like you're hiring a yes man. I'm not saying that's what he is. Don't get it twisted, guys. I want someone who's going to lead, who has the reputation of doing it before.
I don't think it's
modern
I don't think
baseball perspective.
I don't think it's out of the question like Lou was talking about it. I would throw out the safe pick. You bring in a guy like, what is that? Again, I always call it the love affair effect. Well, he was a former Giant, so automatically he's way up here. I don't give who cares? Get me a legitimate manager, a guy who, that's why I said if a guy like Schilt came up, you abandon the plan and you get Mike Schilt. You abandon it. You don't have to play it safe and go, well, Buster knows him, or he was a former Giant. I don't think that's the approach we should be looking at.
Yeah, I don't either. And I see someone talking about Suzuki. I don't like Suzuki either. That's just me. He might be a great person, might be a great, right? But I just don't. If the Giants are wanting to go win, we got to have someone who has some type of coaching or managerial background. That's all I'm saying. And look, you know what it reeks to me? And again, this is just me. It feels like the Buster Posey, Nick Hundley connection reminds me of Farhan and Kapler. Doesn't it? Doesn't it kind of resemble that type of attitude? I could be way off. I'm just telling you what I feel, and it could mean absolutely nothing. I'm just giving my opinion. That's it. So that's what I'm getting. It just feels like Posey Hundley is reminiscent of Farhan and Kapler. And I just don't want that. I don't want that. I want a guy who's going to come in here and yay, you know what? We want to win. And look, and here's the thing, and I know where people are already going to go. I already know. Well, Stephen Vogt was able to do it. Yeah, he was. And that's good. But you know what? Not every situation. Not every situation. I call it the vote effect. Lou, I talked about this the other day. The vote effect. Mm-hmm. Because just because he did it doesn't automatically mean that another guy's going to be able to do it. You just don't know.
And you got to remember, it seems like, going back to Sosha with the Angels, I mean, it seemed like if you were a catcher and you wanted to manage, you got the job. It didn't matter. It was just one of those things. I just think it's going to be 2026. Maybe the managers, because of what they've done, it's behind us. You got to go with new baseball. Maybe get like a shortstop or a third baseman. That'll be the new, phase. I think what the Giants need to do is don't do what people expect. Don't do what you've done the last 8 years. I think with Buster, he probably has 5 guys, and we're not talking 3 of the 5. He might be interested in someone that was in the playoffs. Or maybe this? Anything's possible.
Lou, how about this one? And tell me this is I'm not saying this is purely out of left field. You're talking about a position player other than a catcher being the manager of the San Francisco Giants. How about this one? This one's way out of left field. There's a certain player that was a former San Francisco Giant who is having difficulties getting into the Hall of Fame, right? Why not bring on Barry Lamar Bonds as your next manager of the San Francisco Giants? Why not? Then lead the team to a couple of World Series, and he gets in a Hall of Fame as a manager. Why not? Why the hell not? Why the hell not?
Why the hell?
Why the hell not? Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
You got to remember, he at least went a whole year as the hitting coach for Florida. Or were they Florida Marlins then or Miami? I can't remember.
No, they were Miami. They were Miami.
So I mean, he did it a year, and he realized this is bleeping hard work. Being a manager, you got to remember, you got egos, you got coaches that you're doing. I just don't see Bonds, but I like that. I mean, I think a couple guys. I mean, if they keep talking about Hundley, why wouldn't you do someone like JT Snow then? Another former player, He did good work with the ballers because they won it. You know, you got to start thinking outside. One of the things I said a couple of weeks ago with you guys, if you want to do somebody, you know, you got to get someone that has done the job before. Nobody's talking. What about Will Venable, who took over the White Sox?
Oh yeah, you talked about Will Venable.
To win 25 games. They almost won 60 games. You know, he's proven the point. He was in a horrible situation. You know, it would be an upgrade to be the Giants, but we got to get someone that has done it. Because, guys, when you're in, first of all, this is the San Francisco Giants, okay? It's not someone that, you know, like Milwaukee, it's not pressure. You're one of the top 5 teams in all of Major Baseball. The expectations that you have now from your new boss, Buster, playoffs or you're gone. The pressure. You know, you got to get someone that is going to be so good, and he's not going to put up with all the BS. You know, one of the things about Melvin is he let a lot of mumbo jumbo go. Ramos, you know, who basically got running bases, third base, didn't know what he was doing in left field. You know, all that stuff. And you know what his excuse was? Oh, well, we have nobody else. That's nobody a horrible excuse, right?
Well, it's interesting. Supposedly, yeah, go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Luke.
Now, the other thing, too, is, guys, when are you going to realize Alex and Susan haven't been right, or John Heyman, about anything for about 8 years? Okay. Susan thinks Chapman is a Hall of Famer. Okay. He's not a Hall of Famer. You're not going to get in the Hall of Fame just for defense. Okay. He's not an Ozzie Smith. Okay. Alex hasn't been right about a lot. The one thing about Alex is he's actually turned around where he's actually speaking as a fan. These guys are under the Giants payroll. Susan, I don't think anything of her. You know, she thinks she is worse than some of the Giants owners. It's all about being safe and trying to sell. She's going to tell you what you want to hear, but it's not reality. Just like John Heyman. You know, people think, oh, John Heyman's so good. He was the one that said we had Judge. He was the one that misprinted it. Oh, my people at the airport say he's here. All this stuff when all he was doing was going home to Clovis outside Fresno. He hasn't been right about anything. You know, some of these guys, you know, we just assume are good because of where they work or what they say. But like I said, I don't think, you know, he's also interviewing people. What's wrong? He's got to interview people. You know, he's probably going to interview 3 or 4 more, and they're going to say, oh my God, did you hear who Buster interviewed? I want Buster to interview. I want him to get the right guy. Just don't pick a guy because he's the flavor of the day. I mean, Nick Hundley, you know, Scott Schumann, the guy that just died, he was flavor last week. Nick Hundley's the flavor this week. Why? Because John Heyman says the Giants have interest. Well, of course, they have interest in 12 guys. So I just
mentioned Susan Slusser. Susan Slusser, and you said she'll say what the fans want to hear. You know, the problem in this market is people like Susan Slusser, she tells you what ownership wants you to hear. She's like a mouthpiece, a distant mouthpiece of the organization. It's time the media in the Bay Area grow a set of balls and just hold it and call a spade a spade.
You can't. You look. They could do that. You got to be careful doing that though, because you don't want to freaking.
Why? That's your job, Eric. That's your job. At every other market.
I hear you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
pussyfooting around. Always.
Because the thing is then that you ain't going to get anything from anybody. That's the problem. You got to pick and choose your battles. You battle everything. Guess what? You're going to get labeled a hothead, and they ain't going to come to you for nothing. You gotta keep that balance. That's all I'm saying.
That doesn't show much for the organization either, because that is your freaking job in the media.
I get it. I understand it.
My God, there'd never be an interview in New York.
I hear you. It's a totally different situation in New York. But going back to Nick Hundley,
everybody wants to say we're like top 5 markets in baseball. Then we got to act like it.
Well, it's all about money, not about attitude. Come on, East Coast attitude.
Then it's all about bullshit.
But here.
They keep feeding
talking about Nick Hundley. He may be the pick. And look, Buster Posey, right? And here's one thing about Buster Posey. He zigs while everyone else zags, it seems like. I've already talked about it on the show. Nobody saw the Adames signing coming. There was people that were saying, yeah, we would like to sign him. But no, there was no talk whatsoever that the Giants were close to signing Willie Adames. There was no talk whatsoever that the Giants were going to try to trade for Rafi Devers. So I got a feeling that Buster Posey, he's going to make his decision, right? And it could be someone we know. It could be someone out of left field. We don't know. All we could do is just wait and see what happens and see what that decision is going to be. But again, this is just for me as a fan. I'm somebody who has it before to a certain extent. I'm not going to get caught up in, because Stephen, and I've already said it, I'm not going to get caught up in that. Oh, Stephen Vogt was able to do it, so this guy's going to do. That's probably not the right way to go in hiring your manager. And I don't think that's what Buster Posey's doing. He's going to go find the guy. Look, yes, you got to have a relationship with the between a Pobo and the manager. You guys got to have a shared vision, okay? But you should also be, hey, I may want to do this, and you may want to do that. And you guys got to have to sell each other on what exactly needs to be done. It can't always be just, oh yeah, everything's hunky-dory, like it was with Kapler and Zaidi.
I don't understand what Bossy's take is. He says, bottom line, if the Giants want to build culture and modernize, then Nick Hundley is the
What does that mean? Culture and modernize.
I don't know what it
culture.
means.
What is modernize? I don't understand modernize. It doesn't make sense to me. The only reason why people probably like Nick Hundley, he's young. Posey likes him. And he's got a track record, and he's a catcher,
the former Giant,
and he's got character, and that's fine. And character's big. By the way, I'm not poo-pooing the character, and I'm not poo-pooing it. Look, if you're gonna hire a manager, I could give a shit if the guy is 40 years old or 60 years old. I want the best man for the job. That's it.
And the problem with Bossy's statement, bottom line, if the Giants want to rebuild culture and modernize, Mark DeRosa is the best long-term fit. Or you could fill in the blank. I don't know what Nick, again, love affair. I don't get it.
An assistant GM doesn't make a good manager. He was an assistant GM. How does that make you a good manager?
And if you think about it, what was he doing with the Texas Rangers? He was a special assistant to the front office. He wasn't a special assistant to the manager. So he was more of a front office type guy, right? And hey, maybe that's what his desire. Maybe he wants to do something in the front office with the San Francisco Giants, and that's fine. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We're going to find out soon enough.
And what's funny is, you know who hired him? A former buddy of his, Chris Young, hired him, who was, in the Texas Ranger organization. So again, I don't see the Rangers getting any rings. I'm just letting you know. So, of course, Steven.
Let me ask you something, Eric.
Giants are so cheap they can't afford me.
Eric, who's your pick? Who's your pick? Who's your guy?
My pick isn't going to be someone who's going to be picked. My pick is Ron Woodus. I like him.
And Lou?
Boy.
Because I've got Mark DeRosa. I think Mark DeRosa is the best man for the job.
So far, I think none of the above.
That's fair.
I think we're overlooking someone who's there.
Okay, that's fair.
Dan Coachemilio.
I love Ron Woodus just for the simple fact.
Guy. I'm just saying.
Right. The only thing I like about Ron, I shouldn't say the only thing. There's many things I like about Ron Woodus. The only thing that's probably his downfall is probably his age. That's probably the only thing. If they're looking,
do you think he wants to get back into that daily grind?
That's a great question.
Doing the post game once in a while, that's easy. He gets paid occasionally.
Let's not forget
to do what he wants.
You know what he also does? He's a special assistant to Buster Posey. He sits in the GM box during home games. He's there quite often. He's
nice
got
job.
the ear. That's a pretty damn nice job. And like you said, should I say it's too cush, because it's hard to walk away from something like that.
I'll feel like if they hire Hundley, if they announce that, the first thing that I'll think is,
hey, whatever, man.
Played it safe.
And there may be something to that, but hey, we're going to have to trust Posey in what he's doing. I give him that. Look, I've already said that. I will trust Posey in his decision. All I'm saying is, with fans talking about Hundley, what do we know about Hundley? Posey knows more about Hundley than what we do. All I know about Hundley is he was a former catcher. and he worked for the front office for the Texas Rangers. I have heard nothing about his coaching ability. I heard that he's a great guy in the clubhouse, but I haven't heard anything about his coaching or his managerial experience at all. So that's the issue. That's me as a fan. But Buster Posey, maybe he knows something we don't. That's all I'm saying.
I think you bring up a great point.
That's again, I'm more wondering why fans are so enamored with Nick Hundley. I'm not asking why Posey is. I'm asking fans. I keep seeing this everywhere. Hundley here, Hundley there, Hundley here. I'm like, but what is it?
96 games for the Giants. 96.
I know, but look at Fosse. He's still he's a trusted former Giant. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see what he said. He's trusted former Giant. See, yeah. Look, I don't mind if they're internal, external. That doesn't matter. I want the best with strong leadership.
I'd rather have Nick Hundley
IQ.
working under Buster and as assistant GM, since he did it for the Texas Rangers and work with.
And by the way,
and
modern front office experience. Texas Rangers isn't exactly on the forefront of modern baseball experience. They spend a shit ton of money going to get these guys. They spent money on DeGrom. They spent money on Scherzer. They spent money on Corey Seager. They spent money on Simeon. They're a normal baseball club. I don't think that it's a quote unquote modern front office. It's I would say that the Texas Rangers are very similar to the San Francisco Giants.
And Eric and Glenn, wouldn't you want him to maybe work with our GM? Maybe hire him as assistant GM. He's
That's
already
fine.
done
Yeah,
in Texas.
maybe.
Now,
there you go.
Managing is so different than being in the front office. I have no problem with that. I just, I think Eric, you bring up a great point. Managing is completely different. I mean, it's almost like when the San Diego Padres were so desperate for a manager, they took the play-by-play announcer and made him the manager. I don't know if you remember a guy named Jerry Coleman who did broadcasting for 8 years. He then became the manager. And, everyone thought it was a great idea. Oh, he sees the team all the time. It's so different. It's like these former players that think they can be a hitting coach.
Now that's
it takes a very unique, patient man because you're dealing with egos. You're trying to change everything. It was like, the one thing too I'm excited about is we get a new manager. He gets to bring his own people in. And then if we don't make the playoffs, we can't keep complaining. Matt Williams, Pat the Bat. Maybe we'll come back or maybe it's just the players aren't that good. Because this year, our players were the best. It was all the coach's fault. So, next year when we get Buster's first hire and, we see what happens, you at least have it. But I don't, I think Eric, you bring up a good point. I don't know why Nick Hundley. I just think Nick Hundley's the flavor of the week. And why wouldn't he want to go somewhere else? He might have a chance to be the manager of the Yankees. Would you rather coach someone like the Yankees as your first thing or the Giants? Someone with an unlimited budget and a superstar?
But Louis a former Giant, so I'd want to come here.
Oh, no,
my God, he played on 5 teams. I could see him at Baltimore. I could see him going with the A's. I mean, it's just the guy's played at, I think 5 or 6 different teams. It's one of those things.
Fosse, you're debating yourself. We can't let our fan emotions get in the way, and that's exactly what I think you're doing.
Okay, guys, you think this is? Hey, you think
a former Giant.
This reminds me of us on YouTube. Wow. Phillies have their post-game panel tearing each other apart. Let's take a listen.
My dad used to say, I don't care what he did. I want to know what you did. And what Rob Thompson did was not pinch run. He bunted with Stott when he could have
pinch run.
Who's he going to pinch run? He could have pinch run.
He could not have pinch run the guy.
How could he not have pinch run?
He could not have pinch run
you
the
and me,
guy
Eric.
because he had to hold on Bader. Bader could not run the bases.
I would have let
only hit.
Ruben, I would have let Bader
Here's Eric.
walk. Let him walk the second the run scores.
The man, he would have been done if he would have had to run. He probably would have.
I wouldn't have had him run, but that's how you got to be thinking. Come on.
Oh, here we go.
It's Eric and Glenn.
Wow. I'm going to tell you something right now. That guy on the left, I don't know who it is. The guy on the left, though, you see how he's dogging on Thompson. I'm telling you, some of these other managerial positions may come up. Look, it's a post game. It may mean nothing. But if Philly gets swept and New York gets swept, there's a possibility both of those managers get canned. And that's more competition for Buster Posey to get the guy he wants. And who knows? Maybe Buster's already made the decision and we're just waiting for the announcement.
At the end of the day, I'll just be content. At the end of the day, the Giants don't hire anyone with a past. No former player, no former manager or coach. Just step away from that. Get away from that agenda that we have to, got to be a DEI hire. We got to, he's got to at least have played here. No, I don't care. Go outside the organization and get a manager.
I think
run.
one thing
run
is you think our fans are bad. Philly gets swept. The press and the fans will go absolutely ballistic
100%.
because Philly's had a problem with the 76ers. They've had a problem with the hockey team. Here's their best hope, and they get swept, and they had home field advantage. He will be gone. That's a guarantee. I see Dan, the coach. He wants Boone, automatic, credibility. Hey, that's his choice. But again,
the thing
that
is, I don't
hasn't been
think
one of the five.
Buster Posey isn't looking for credibility or notoriety. He's looking to win. He wants to win. And the problem is, Aaron Boone has not won, right? Yes, they've gone to the postseason.
There too.
But what does Buster Posey want? In his end of season presser, he come out and said he wants to win. He wants to win.
And like I said earlier, Eric, when you think of Boone, if you were to hire Boone, doesn't he come with cachet and baggage as he's the guy that never won?
That never won. Right.
Now,
does that mean it will happen? No.
I think the fans would lose their mind if it was Boone.
You think so? You think fans would lose them? I think there's going to be a segment of the population.
Yeah, the fans who don't know baseball, Eric, will go, "Oh my God, we got it for the Yankees. He must be good." Who cares? And I just brought up the Post. It's gone now. I'm not going to go looking for it, but you can't bring in. I don't want to see college managers.
I still like David Ross. David Ross is young. David Ross is outside the organization. David Ross has won 2 World Series rings. David Ross has managed. You want to talk about checking the boxes? David Ross has checked all the boxes.
I think that's a great point. Like I said, of the 5 guys
has managed, is outside the organization.
Yeah, we can argue it all day. One of us is going to be right, or all of us is going to be wrong.
I think we're all wrong. Like I said, after Melvin was fired,
probably
the 5 people that they kept talking about, one's already gone. They're not going to get the guy from Tennessee, so he's gone. So the other 3, we don't know what we're doing. And guys, why would we want Dusty Baker? The guy's 81 years old. He, a lot of times you got to remember, even though you want him, does he want the job? And we've been talking about it. We don't want a guy that's going to be here 2 years, and then we got to get another manager.
Correct.
We need someone that's going to be there for at least 5-6 years, and that has a plan that can work with Buster. So, one of the things when I watch baseball tonight, especially the Philly game, being a fan, is I miss when the Giants are in the playoffs with the orange pom-poms and the flags and everyone getting so excited. I don't care what it takes, but we got to get back to that. There's nothing like baseball playoffs when your team's in it.
And when they get there, I want your front row seat. Okay?
Tom. Oh, there we go. Build an AI manager. First in MLB history. Hey, we're in, the computer.
We already got away from Farhan. We got away from Farhan. Let's just
But yeah, man, why not? If we're going to go for, if we're looking for a look, right? Is that what everyone's clamoring? Look for someone outside the organization. Look for a catcher. Look for someone who's won. Look for someone who's managed. Checks all boxes.
Supercomputer.
Or a supercomputer. There you go. Come on. But who knows, man? Albania. Man, this is fun.
Meanwhile, back at the farm, the Dodgers, they win.
Yeah, Dodgers win. Going back to LA with a 2-0 lead.
Hanging by a thread. And there
Brewers are now going to head to Chicago with a 2-0 lead. Tomorrow, right? We got one series that split 1-1 going to Detroit. And the big one, the nightcap is going to be the big one. You got the Toronto Blue Jays. Can they put the knife in the Yankees?
Your boy's pitching tomorrow, Eric. The afternoon tilt. Logan Gilbert, 6-6 against Flaherty. Jack Flaherty, 8-15. Then the nightcap, you've got Shane Bieber, who was an acquisition during the season, 4-2, up against Carlos Rodon, who usually
that's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a tough game, but
that's going to be a good one.
And it's the Blue Jays. You talk about the Red Sox are the rival. The Blue Jays have become the New York Yankees AL East rivals, Eric. I'm telling you, the place will be electric tomorrow.
It's going to be.
Your buddy Tortoro is going to blow a gasket if they lose. His head's
okay.
Off.
Before we get out of
Rocket
here, Glenn, who wins the games tomorrow? The 2 games. Who are
By
you
the
winning?
way, they're both on FS1 tomorrow. So if you don't go like me, use all the batteries in the remote trying to find which channel this crap's on. Who wins tomorrow? First game, Seattle-Detroit. I've got the Seattle Mariners on the road, and then the Toronto Blue Jays. They win something like 5-2, 5-3, maybe 5-3.
They ice it.
So I think it's Jays win. Seattle goes up in the series.
Okay, Lou.
I'm going to take both road teams. So I'm going to take Seattle with their pitching. Flaherty, I know he pitched great during the playoffs, but he's been so up and down. I like Gilbert, especially if he can get past the first inning. Mm-hmm. And then, Rodon, it's sort of funny. When he left the Giants, he, of course, got injured. But, for all the money they're paying him, I can't remember the last time he actually won a big playoff game. So I think the advantage with Toronto, they want to win. They don't want to go to game 4. So both road teams. Seattle to go up 2-1 and a sweep for the Blue Jays.
And Lou and I are heading to the betting window now. We're both betting the same teams, so it's got to come true, right, Lou? We're
and
both on board.
You know what? This is a rarity on this channel. We're all in agreement.
Ooh.
The road teams take it. Toronto Blue Jay. They ice them. They ice the Yankees. They're done.
And Eric, it's 1 o'clock, 1:08, and 5:08.
Yes.
So
1:08 and 5:08. 1:08 is the Seattle and Detroit game. And then the best one, I think, is the 5:08 start with the Toronto at New York facing the Yankees.
And we're getting back to a semblance of normal broadcast times here on Giant Sports Talk Live. Now, playoff Sports Talk Live.
Yeah, buddy. All right. Hey, this was a fun one. Hey, everyone in the chat, appreciate you. It's fun. It's talking baseball. We get a little bit riled up, but hey, at the end of the day, all we want is the best for our San Francisco Giants. And again, talking about the catcher. We'll soon find out. We have no idea who it's going to be. Hey, we may wake up in the morning and say, hey, look at this. The Giants have made a move. So we'll see what happens.
You never know.
It was fun.
Thing that remains, thing that remains, no matter who wins, and no matter how many times Giants fail, there's one thing, Eric, that remains constant here on the channel. You know what that is? The sponsors, baby!
Giant Sports Talk Live, brought to you by Lefties in Burlingame. Visit Lefties for all of your Giants collecting needs. By GenesisGoldIRA.com, Signatures for Soldiers. Duxwell Printing, for all of your printing needs in the Bay Area. Visit Duxwell Printing at 37 Wentworth Place in San Francisco. And by BetterCreditCards.com, for the best credit card choice for you. Visit BetterCreditCards.com, covering the San Francisco Giants nightly. Online, we are Giant Sports Talk Live. Now, back to Eric and Glenn.
And when you look at those 2 games we've all picked tomorrow, Seattle and Toronto, Eric, I think the key factor in both of those, the thing that's going to stand out, think you're going to see a lot of this.
Maybe.
You're going to see some solid hits. You're going to see some bombs. Blue Jays especially. They get runners on, knock them in.
There we go. Hey, Lou, thanks again for popping in.
Hey, I
Appreciate
just
that,
want to
buddy.
say thanks, guys. I appreciate coming in. It's always a thrill. Thank you, chap, for having me. Appreciate it. And I look
Awesome.
forward
I think
to
it's
the
a
show
good,
tomorrow, guys.
This is awesome. It's
trio.
baseball talk, man. It's baseball talk, and that's all. That's all we want. All right, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night as we do it all over again.
Eric.
But
Baseball
for the
world.
American League. The American League only. Woo!
You've been watching Giant Sports Talk Live with Eric and Glenn, a Northern Lights Entertainment Broadcasting production.